Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here with all of you. So today, I am going to give you some insights from my home, which is Silicon Valley. Now, before I do that, I'll tell you a little about myself. I am the CEO of Founderspace, which is a global startup incubator and accelerator. We have over 50 partners in 22 countries. So I come to Asia quite often, especially before the pandemic. I was in China about half the time, where we have incubators in Hangzhou, Xi'an, Dongguan, Nanjing, Wuhan, and other places. And I hope to be coming back soon as the quarantine is lifted. Founderspace has done really well globally. Our headquarters are in San Francisco, and we were ranked the #1 accelerator for overseas startups by both Forbes and Entrepreneur magazines. I'm also the author of 3 books that you may know. They are bestsellers and award winners. The first is Make Elephants Fly, which is all about the process of radical innovation. The second is Surviving a Startup, published by HarperCollins, which is what the title says, everything entrepreneurs need to know to survive. And the third is The 5 Forces That Change Everything, which is all about how technology will transform business, society, and our lives. So today, I'm going to be speaking to you about the next wave of tech disruption. These are the things that will change the future of venture investment. Now, I won't repeat what Irene told us previously. She did a fantastic job of giving an overview on the current trends. Instead, I'm going to focus on the future and the areas and technologies which are going to have the biggest impacts. So the first one, as we all know, is software. So as far as technology goes, software is eating the world. Now, software is everywhere. And the reason software is so powerful across all sectors, whether it's healthcare, e-commerce, logistics, you name it, software is so important because software can be changed in real time. You can update software. It also is the one way to completely engage and have a two-way dialogue with your customer. You can't do that with hardware alone. You can't do that with other technologies like nanotech and other things. But with software, as soon as you get a customer, you can engage that customer and you can extract from that customer ongoing revenue in return for value. Now, what we'll see in the future is software is going to continue to boom, and it is going to continue to drive innovation across all sectors. And really, as an investor, when you're looking into the future, you can invest in hardware, and that's fine. But always remember that it's the software combined with the hardware that is going to provide the most value and the biggest return. Now, as far as software innovations go, we have the blockchain. Now, we've all seen with the crypto boom and everything that's happening around it, Bitcoin rising, all these altcoins taking off, the whole DeFi sector being very explosive. This is a very innovative space. But what I want to let you know is that as quickly as the blockchain appeared out of nowhere, nobody really predicted this. Nobody saw it coming. It just, all of a sudden, there was the blockchain and then crypto started to go, and nobody really saw at the beginning how big it would become. I think it's exceeded all of our expectations. Well, the blockchain is just one type of software. We are going to see other equivalents to the blockchain emerge in the coming decades. Now, I can't tell you what they are or how they work, but they will probably be in the areas of communication, in the areas of finance and commerce, in the areas of how people participate online. There's a lot of talk right now of the metaverse because of Facebook pushing this and Apple coming out with its new augmented reality glasses. So there are going to be new software technologies continuously emerging. And as investors, we want to keep our eye on these because we don't know The next big revolution could come from Facebook with the tens of thousands of engineers they're hiring to develop new software for the metaverse. However, it more than likely won't come from Facebook. It'll come from some unknown startup or group even of hackers who put together some software and release it to the world, just like the blockchain. And all of a sudden it takes over everything. So keep your eye on emerging software technologies and platforms. These are going to be the most powerful thing in transforming our future. The other big tsunami out there that is already hitting us is CRISPR. So gene editing, genomics are enormous. The biotech sector is just at the beginning of understanding the full potential of these technologies. So basically, we have decoded the building blocks of life, which if you think about it, is unbelievable. The building blocks of life. So we can now create new species of plants and animals that never existed before. And we can take existing species and modify them, designing them to meet our needs in an ever-changing world. One example of this is Aqua Bounty. It's a startup. They have gene-edited salmon so that it grows twice as fast. Think about that. That's an enormous amount of value to the fish farming industry. Now, if they can do this with salmon, it is technically possible to do this with other species of animals that we eat. Perhaps shrimp, but more likely cattle, chicken, pigs, you name it. We are going to be modifying the foods we eat, and it's going to dramatically change the entire agribusiness. You know, they already have cloned cows out there, cloned cattle that people, and you can sell that beef in the United States. So they can take the prime beef, clone the cattle, breed them, and do that. They are working on doing this with Kobe beef in Japan. However, the cost is still really high. So the key for economics will be, can you get the cost down like Aqua Bounty has done with their gene-edited salmon? Another area of gene editing when it comes to livestock is they are now working at the University of Florida on heat-resistant cows. So they've edited their genes so that they can survive in much hotter climates. Why are they doing this? Well, because of climate change. And if you extrapolate from cattle, you know, soon most of the world's cattle may have to be gene edited merely to survive in more extreme temperatures. We are going to do this with crops too, and we'll have to do this with crops. We will have to design crops so that they use less water, design crops so they can withstand much hotter and much colder climates. All this is coming, not to mention designing crops so that they resist pests, which we're already doing, so that they taste better, so that they last longer in storage. The entire agribusiness is being redefined by this CRISPR technology. And it goes beyond that to actually using CRISPR and gene drives to target mosquitoes and actually design mosquitoes that will end up having them die off so that they can prevent malaria. So there are all sorts of different ways that CRISPR is being used, and we're just at the beginning of this. Another area that is really exciting is brain chips. And this is where brain-computer interfaces come in. At Brown University already, they have embedded chips in people's brains. And these people aren't ordinary people. These people are people who have locked-in syndrome, meaning that they are completely paralyzed due to a stroke or some other traumatic injury. Now, with the brain chip, these people can actually move robotic arms and feed themselves. They can drive around in wheelchairs. They can turn off and on lights. They can even send messages. And why this is so powerful is if they can do this now in human beings with a chip in their brain, we will soon, at some point in the future, be able to do this with non-invasive devices, devices that don't require a chip in the brain, but you can just wear them like a little headset that will allow you to communicate directly with the internet indirectly with all the IoT devices. What does this mean? It means at some point, some company, and there are a lot of big companies working on this. I will tell you, I've been working with some of the large ones. Facebook has publicly announced it. Some of the ones I'm working with have not announced it yet. And there are a lot of startups. They are working on developing potentially the next operating system beyond iOS and Android. And it will be a brain operating system, which will allow people to jettison their smartphones, get rid of their smartphones, and directly connect to the internet. Now, when this happens, it's going to be transformational. It's going to upend everything we know about the internet. It will be the biggest disruption humanity has had, because we are going to be connected directly, not only to the internet, all the processing power in the cloud, all the information in the cloud directly from our brains, but to each other. Now, when this happens, nobody can say, but it will happen in the future. Nanorobots are taking huge leaps forward. So they are developing nanorobots like at Arizona State University that can actually kill cancer. So these nanorobots, they can inject them into the body, they can target a tumor, and they can deliver medicines directly to the tumor. So you don't have to poison your entire body to kill a tumor. You can go right at the tumor. Other ways, they can target a tumor to make chemotherapy work just for specific parts of the body. Really amazing technologies. At some point, we predict in the future that people will have nanorobots in their bodies at all time, actually clearing plaque from the arteries, cleaning people's teeth, clearing plaque from the teeth, fighting off viruses and other pathogens that enter the body. So nanotechnology is coming a long way, and we're going to see lots of advances in this area in the future. A very exciting space is DNA storage. Now, Microsoft is working on this. A lot of universities are working on this. What DNA storage does is it is so efficient that you could literally store the entire world's data, all the data we have ever produced, in a shoebox. What does this mean? This means a huge data center that consumes an enormous amount of space, hardware, and power can be reduced to the size of that could fit in a thimble. Just a tiny, tiny thimble could contain all the data from a data center. Now, DNA storage doesn't quite work yet. It's still in the experimental stage. They have a long way to go before they can make it work. But hypothetically, scientists working in this space believe this is a solvable problem. They will be able to do this. And when they do this, you can imagine the impact it will have. It will be completely disruptive of how we store and manage information. Another very interesting technology, and this is representative of a whole class of technology, is the brain port. Now, the brain port is a device that a blind person can use to see. So they put on a pair of glasses with a camera in the center, and then that is hooked up to a little device that they place on their tongue. Why? Because what the device does is it takes the digital representation of the image that the camera is seeing, and it sends little signals into the nerves on the tongue. Now, the tongue is very sensitive, and it will pick up those signals on the nerves and transmit them to the brain. Now, the human brain can actually very quickly learn to identify patterns. And what it will, in a very short amount of time, people who have been blind their entire life can start to see. Now, the images, the resolution is not very high. It's low resolution, but it's amazing. What this demonstrates is that our brains are so malleable that we can take input from any pathway into our brain and actually make sense of it. So we can make sense of visual images coming through the nerves in our tongue to our brain. There are cochlear implants in the ears that can actually replace, allow people who are deaf to hear again. The first bionic eye has just been transplanted into a person to actually send images directly into their brain. This is absolutely transformative when it comes to our ability as human beings to actually start to perceive the world in a new way. Because you can see right now, our visible spectrum that we can see with our eyes is very limited. Our hearing, the range of our hearing, the frequencies, very limited. Dogs can hear things we can't hear. Dolphins and whales can hear frequencies we can't hear. But with these technologies, we may be able to open up a whole new vista for human beings to actually experience ultraviolet light, to see in infrared, to hear at spectrums they could never hear before. It's going to be an amazing transformation of the human experience and how we interact with the world around us. Another experiment at the University of Reading, they actually put a living brain inside a robot. This is a microbrain made from stem cells. This tiny brain they put in a robot, and the brain could actually function like a processor and actually help the robot navigate. Now, imagine this. We have the power today with stem cell technology to actually create living brains. And these brains emit similar signals, basically the same signals that a living animal brain does, meaning they have the potential at some point when they get large enough and have enough input to become conscious. What does this mean when we start combining biological development of brains and things like that with robotics? Will we be able to create conscious robots with actually brains that are grown and implanted inside them? Yes, the answer is potentially we could do this because everything is pointing in that direction. Another amazing area that they're working on at UC Davis is they are actually breeding chimeras. Chimeras are when they take genes from multiple animals and actually combine them in an embryo and give birth to an animal that is a hybrid. So what you're looking at on the screen now is a hybrid of a goat and sheep. So they can do this. This technology is there. We can start to create animals today that are combinations of genes of other animals. In George Church, who was nice enough to endorse my latest book, The Five Forces, he is a professor at Harvard, and he is actually working now on creating, resurrecting the woolly mammoth, bringing it back to life through this same technology. So we're gonna see big advances in this coming forward, and it's gonna be a very interesting space. Space mining. So there's been a lot of talk of space mining, but things are really heating up now. Now that we're about to be colonizing the moon with NASA, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, the Chinese, everybody's racing there, and then potentially Mars. The potential for space mining is real. So one way is to bring back an asteroid, but that's very expensive. Another way is the moon itself, where, literally millions of asteroids have hit the moon, leaving deposits of rare earth minerals, leaving deposits of platinum worth in astronomical amounts on the surface of the moon. It will be very easy to mine these and use these in the future to actually transform the Earth's economy. Just take platinum alone. There is so much platinum on the moon. I mean, on Earth, platinum is very rare and very expensive. On the moon, it is abundant. If they can start bringing that back to Earth at an affordable cost, it could totally change the economics of platinum and how we use platinum to actually invent and build things. AI takes over. So AI is what I call the most powerful technology we have ever developed. Now, AI has so much potential right now that is still untapped, and it's progressing at a very fast rate. So what we're going to see is that literally every industry on the planet is going to be made smarter. Every object that we interact with, device, robot, will be much, much smarter in the future. Human beings will begin to delegate more and more of their decision-making power to artificial intelligence. Literally, artificial intelligence is going to be taking over most of the difficult decisions we make. Already, we can see it in the stock market. AI-powered trading is huge, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. In logistics, in manufacturing, you name it, AI is going to be making these decisions because it can do it much better than human beings. It can access massive amounts of data, analyze that data, and extract from it actions that should be taken to get better results at the present time and in the future. So in every field, whether it's medicine, whether it's other industries, travel, you name it, AI is going to be playing a pivotal role in disrupting and transforming them. Evolutionary robots. So already they are developing robots that can learn and evolve much like animals have evolved, but at a much faster pace. So these robots can actually go into the world, start interacting with the world, and as they interact, they can start to learn what works. They can even begin to redesign themselves for different tasks. And then as soon as they learn that, they can literally instantly upload it and transmit that information to every other robot. So every other robot instantly learns it. The pace of evolution of robots as we develop them will be astounding. And these robots won't just be on the planet Earth, they will be on the moon and on Mars. They are going to be primarily the ones that colonize the moon and the Mars. Robots, not human beings. Now, I will wrap this up with a little science fiction, but science fiction that is in the realm of possibility. So in the future, with the advances in gene editing technologies like CRISPR, and remember, CRISPR is just the beginning. We're going to get more and more advanced tools for gene editing. At some point, we will be designing our children. So think about that, and we will be determining what traits they have and actually reinventing the human race. So I want to thank you all very much. I look forward, if you want to reach out to me, just come to foundersspace.com. You can reach out to me, and I look forward to collaborating.